Yeah.
I think that's Alex, but Sean's probably that one over there. Good evening. This is our second week of budget hearings. My name is Kenneth Kennedy. I'm the council's chair of its Operations Management and Budget Committee. We've had a bit of a scheduling snafu this evening. Tonight's one and only public hearing will be the Hartford Public Library. We had scheduled changes to have the Hartford Board of Education and the Hartford Public Library this evening due for some, I'll call it technical difficulties. The Board of Ed, I'm a nice guy. The Board of Ed is unable to be here this evening, and we will reschedule them at a date later to be determined when we can have we can all get together and have that conversation. And we're up against the deadline because the 20th is when we reconvene. So tonight will be the Hartford Public Library, and then tomorrow we'll have 3 hearings with the Internal Audit Commission, MHIS 311, and can I see yours? And the parking, and the town clerk. No, that's tomorrow. Town clerk will be first up. Internal audit, and then MHIS 311, which that's essentially the same department. They have the same supervisor. So let me do some quick introductions. To my far right is Councilman Kyle Anderson, and to his left and my right is Councilman David McDonald, and to my right is Council President Sean T. Wooden. To my far left is Councilwoman Cynthia Jennings. To her right and my left is Councilman Dr. Larry Deutsch, and to my immediate left is Minority Leader Councilman Joel Cruz Jr. And with all the introductions taken care of and our scheduling clarifications, Matt, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, President Wooden and Councilman Kennedy and all of the distinguished members of the council. My name is Ann Melissa Dowling, and I'm the board president of the Hartford Public Library. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the library's budget plan to you tonight. The board does endorse the proposed budget created by the library's leadership team because they have recommended a fiscally responsible and sound plan that, despite flat funding, will not require a reduction in hours or services to the communities we serve. We're so thank you for the ongoing support of the City Council, the Mayor, and the citizens of Hartford. Even with all of the awards and accolades that the library has received in the last few years, the support says the most coming from all of you. As we look to the library's 125th anniversary over in 3 short years, we know that we face our present and future challenges with wide community understanding that the library is important to its citizens. Having the community's trust and confidence is not something we take lightly. The library's leadership and staff are committed to supporting those who support us by meeting their needs in creative yet fiscally responsible ways. That doesn't mean the challenges don't exist on an ongoing basis. We, like all libraries, are challenged to make sure that the right technology is available to everyone regarding of his or her financial resources. We're challenged to find ways to adapt our technology and our programming to the demands and opportunities of the digital revolution. And we're challenged to meet the ever-growing need to help combat an array of community deficits in our city. We have the most complete municipal archive in the country to protect and preserve while finding new ways to make it even more accessible and useful to the needs of our citizens. And we still have much to do. Our community needs are great, but as we thank you for your past support, please remember how much more we can accomplish when we're all working together to make the library everything it can be. So I ask you to approve the mayor's contribution to the library so that we can continue our collaborative work to create an even better city. And now, let me introduce Matt Poland, the library's CEO, and Mary Zambazakis, the library's Chief Administrative Officer, who will share with you all the exciting things that are happening at the Hartford Public Library to help make a difference in the lives of our citizens.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to give you a second in case you wanted to do what you did last year and just say aye and without having to say it. Hey, I could try, right? I could try again. Good evening, President Wooden and all the members of the council. I would like to thank each of you for your support of one of the city's enduring assets, Hartford Public Library. With your help, we continue to build a world-class 21st century library for our citizens who depend on us every day. My thanks also to our board under the leadership of Ann Melissa Dowling and to the best public library staff ever assembled. You guys have got that. In this increasingly digitized world, many people often ask if libraries are even still necessary. Have libraries or even books become obsolete? But one look at Hartford Public Library and the answer is clear. Libraries have never been more important. Hartford Public Library is the single institution in this great city that allows everyone equal access to information, a place to learn and grow, and a means to improve their lives. The library is an economically sound public service, providing priceless resources to the people of Hartford with minimal taxpayer dollars. Every day we help thousands of people with job searches, and we work to close the growing digital divide, the new gap between the haves and the have-nots. Our 10 branches are anchors in their neighborhoods, providing a safe haven for children, teens, and those disenfranchised in our world. Last year, Hartford Public Library saw 833,000 visits through its doors, a 40% increase in the last decade. More than 500,000 items were checked out. And for the estimated 2/3 of our citizens without reliable access to the internet at home, the library is the primary location for connectivity, enabling them to search for jobs, conduct research, and seek essential human services that are increasingly only available to those who have access to technology. In 2014, we're proud to say that more than 300,000 computer and Wi-Fi sessions were logged. Last summer alone, 6,250 children participated in summer learning programs, up from 300 only 4 years ago. Research shows that youngsters who participate in summer learning programs demonstrate greater reading and math ability when they return to school than those who did not participate in such programs. And nearly 10,000 children also enjoyed lunch while they were having fun learning at our 10 locations throughout the summer. This robust increase in service was made possible because of our now robust partnership with the school district. Hartford Public Library also serves school-aged children during the school time. We are the primary library for homeschoolers and many schools in the city that do not have active libraries. Even students lucky enough to attend a school with a library find that their schools partner with and use the public library. Classes visit the library for story times, instruction, research assistance, and more. And librarians engage in outreach, visiting schools to meet with staff, conducting book clubs with students, providing instruction in online databases, attending and hosting special events like family reading nights, and visiting classrooms to promote the summer learning program. We have 3 libraries in school buildings and manage the catalog for the district's collection, and that partnership continues to grow. And just one anecdote, when we started with this new partnership, we selected the Goodwin branch first in the Behind the Rocks neighborhood as the first zone, and that branch was about in the middle of the pack for circulation among all of the branches in downtown. And after a year working with the schools and the parents and the teachers, it was #1 in circulation. So we know that with intentional work done with parents and teachers and principals, we can improve literacy in our city. A sad statistic is that 70% of our children, however, are not ready for pre-K and kindergarten. The library has developed Leap into Learning this year to increase the percentage of school readiness. Area preschools and families who have babies, toddlers, and preschool-aged children find a wealth of resources at and through the library. Librarians suggest the best books, offer numerous programs, and educate caregivers on the importance of developing early literacy skills. In working with the very young, we provide the tools to ensure school readiness. Our libraries are bustling community spaces and safe havens for children, teens, and adults alike. They function as warming and cooling centers and as polling sites for voters. educators and social workers, trainers, nonprofit organizations, neighborhood associations, and others use our community rooms on a regular basis to do the work of the city. Attendance at cultural events is at record high levels, 400 per week on average for Baby Grand Jazz this year on Sundays. And the Art Walk opening receptions have had 300 people. And many of the people who come to these openings are people in our city who would never go to an art gallery opening elsewhere, but can experience that feeling of camaraderie at a gallery opening just like anyone else can elsewhere. And last year, over 30,000 people attended programs and classes at the library. Together, these facts underscore how essential the library is to so many. Indeed, a recent report from the Center for Urban Future strongly argues that a city's public library has become an increasingly important part of its human capital system. The report is succinct. No other institution serves so many different people in so many different ways. So it's not enough to say, we have wonderful books and wonderful programs, come see them, come enjoy them. But we practice a kind of outreach here that has made us a center of learning for the community. People know they can come here and get help they need to have a better life. When people have good literacy skills, the world of jobs and opportunities open to them. Curiosity, serendipity, and imagination are portals to this world, and librarians are the navigators. The mayor has asked the library to build a budget on flat funding once again. The city's contribution to the library has been virtually flat since fiscal 2003, even as use soared. So of course the library continues to face fiscal challenges. We recognize, however, the challenges that you face in these difficult times. So be assured that we will continue to seek revenue from private and other public sources to help the city maintain this great library for the benefit of all. And we look forward to future discussions with you and the mayor about sustainable revenue. In closing, I feel so fortunate to be a part of this library's journey, and I want to personally thank you, the mayor, and the community for supporting us and continuing to believe in us. Such support has provided us the strength and insight necessary to maneuver through challenging times. We are coming off a very successful year from service, program, and innovation standpoint, but I promise you that that is only the beginning. Next year, you can expect more of the unexpected from your library as we become bolder and seek new ways to do new things. Over the past decade, libraries have had to make do with less, a whole lot less. Budgets were slashed, opening hours were reduced, and books were not purchased, while the demand for services has skyrocketed unabated. From a personal standpoint, I cannot stress enough. This library absolutely made me as a kid. It made me a dreamer, a thinker, a reader, and it connected me to the world. The library transformed me, and it did that all for free. I want every kid to have that same opportunity, because when we starve libraries, we starve the future. It's that simple. So I thank you very much for helping nourish the future of Hartford and your overwhelming support of the library over the past number of years. We're going to show you what, Mary is going to show you a little bit about what the budget looks like, and we also want to share with you some of the future things that we're working on, so you can get a good, deep sense of what lies ahead for the library. But we do want to thank you for your support. Undoubtedly, without you over the last 5 or 6 years, this would be a very different library. And your confidence in us, even with flat funding, and with capital improvement, has made a big difference to the people of Hartford, for sure. Mary?
Next slide, please.
Next one.
One more.
One more.
Good evening. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Jose and his team for helping us in working on our budget, and also Leanne for the support they help us throughout the year in the finance area. With them, it's possible for us to be successful, so I'd like to publicly thank them. We're presenting to you a budget this evening of $10.3 million. This is a balanced budget. It will take care of operating 10 locations throughout the city, including the main branch. The City of Hartford's contribution this fiscal year would be $8.2 million, which represents 80% of the funding. We also are going to budget $740,000 from our endowment funds to help us in the operational expenses. Where our fundraising initiatives and activities, we estimate and we believe we will target and reach $500,000 through a variety of programs that we have throughout the years, annual fundraising, and one big summer night on June 11th. We also have a list of miscellaneous revenues, and those are a combination of different funding streams. Those include desk receipts from fines and fees, passport services, which is a very robust program, rental income, and a variety of accounts that bring together the total of our miscellaneous revenue. For example, our passports bring in approximately $30,000 a year, the passport services, and our desk receipts from fines and fees, and they bring in about $70,000. So we have these income streams that we try to diversify and enhance when possible in order to increase our revenue stream. The other line item is prior year revenue. This fiscal year we've been able to manage our budget very tightly, but there's also this natural thing that happens throughout the course of the year, which is a turnover in staff. As people come and go, there are timelines between the time a position becomes vacant and it's filled, and through that we realize some savings. We estimate and we believe that this fiscal year we'll be able to apply prior year revenues of approximately $150,000. We also have approximately $470,000 in a variety of grants and funding sources. We also leverage that funding as well in our expenses. So for example, in the line item for salaries for $5.6 million, there's about $25,000 of salaries that is going to be covered through the grants and recaptured. We go through all our grants and we try to recapture funds to balance our budget. Our fringe benefits include pension, health insurance, Social Security, and that will be approximately $2 million for next year. Our collection budget will be $669,000. Those funds are applied for our books, databases, online electronic resources. The IT operations include our IT contract, but a big portion of it has to do with licensing. For example, Microsoft licensing agreements, security software, and a variety of other software applications that we use to operate the library. Operationally, we spend approximately $984,000, and that includes the rental income for the leased branches, the electrical use, the heating use, the supply accounts, and a variety of other expenses associated with running the facilities and the business operations. We experience, as I stated earlier, a natural turnover of staff, and as part of that, we believe, as the city does, that we will probably recapture $140,000 in savings next year. That is a very conservative number, so we are applying that towards the expenses, and we will be also taking a variety of other reductions as well. We're going to be revisiting our operational expenses as well throughout the year and making adjustments. Usually around the first and second quarter of the year, we see how we're trending, and we make adjustments within the various line items to see if we can save money to meet our targets. We've been very successful over the last 3 years on this. The last item for expenses, the grants, and those tie out to the revenue stream, so they're balanced, so we don't lose any money on operating grants. They are self-sustaining. For this fiscal year, we believe that while there's going to be a lot of various things we have to manage, it's not insurmountable. We believe we can manage it. We've been doing it for the last 3 years, and our goal is to make sure that from a financial standpoint, we're stable, consistent, and we manage effectively, and we believe we've been able to do that in order for the library to do its work and provide the services for the community. At this point, I'm open to answer any questions you may have on the financial component of the budget.
Councilman McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Good evening. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question about the endowment. What is the endowment funded at currently? What's the total endowment?
It's approximately 16 million, 15, 16 million, depending on what the income levels are on the marketplace. So the way that works is there's an investment policy in place, and a percentage of that interest, the income that is made, is applied back to the library for operating expenses. So every year, we take a 12-month running average, and we look at what the income was that was made, and we get 4% of that for the operations.
And that's where the 740,000 comes from?
Yes.
So it's not drawing down any of the endowment principal?
No.
Okay. Would there be, how was that endowment created over time? Was that through donations from individuals?
The endowment is comprised of individual donations that are made through people that have passed away intestate, and they've been in existence for a number of years. What they do is they form trust agreements, and when they pass away, the trusts kick in, and the wording of the trusts determine how the funding can be spent. There are two different parts of the endowment. There's an endowment Part A and an endowment Part B. Some of the money that is donated to the library of that 15 million is in a specific endowment B, which is very specific as to how you can expend the money. For example, they'll say collection of children's books, or they'll state purchase of industrial arts materials. So for those portions of the endowment which are part of the 15 million, you can only spend that income on those specific things, and we use that to enhance the collection component of our operations.
Okay. And how do you advertise your passport services? I wasn't aware that you guys did passports.
Well, we have a variety of mechanisms. We have signs. We do talk to the community. There's a lot of community outreach that happens, and through that we identify that we have passport services. We've actually believed that next year we will hit the $30,000 and we'll surpass it. It's not for a lack of people knowing about it and coming in. We do have a number of people that are coming in, but this year we're realigning some of the staffing so that they can provide more time to being open to provide the passport services. It also ties in very nicely with our Bureau of Immigration Services and that piece of it as well. So we have a huge population that comes in and works with us on that.
Great. All right. Thank you.
Councilman McDonald, one of the ways, the difficulty with nonprofits in general is that, there's not much money for real advertising, right? Which is always a dilemma. But if you're not getting our newsletter, I can sign you up tonight. Okay?
I'm getting it. I just can't always read it.
Because sometimes if you go, you don't always read it. Come on now. I understand.
I don't always have time.
But we do feature some of those things out there. The great thing about the passport is that, it's a full-service office. You don't have to go off to get your picture taken somewhere else. So the whole thing can be done there. It was originally designed to support the immigration work that was done, but now it's available to everyone in the community.
Yeah, it just seems like a good opportunity for additional revenue in the future.
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Great.
It really is. There is one library, and I just don't want to set your expectations too high, but there's a library, the library in Stamford was raising as much as $250,000 a year just on passports, because it became Stanford's, and is Stanford's passport center. And so it's self-operating, the revenue pays for the staff and all that sort of thing. So we do have that in the back of our minds, that growing this and being open more hours will allow us greater capacity.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Deutsch.
Thank you, and through the chair. I'd like to ask about 3 areas for possible expansion, the last of which may have some revenue attached to it.
Yep.
In terms of the neighborhood branch hours, is there discussion of maintaining them as they are, or perhaps expanding them, or having more evening services or more variety? That's one question.
One of the, probably the major request from citizens is about hours. It really is clearly what people want, either more in the morning, because particularly our senior citizens would prefer to be out at 10 in the morning than at 4 in the afternoon with traffic and the like, and the branches don't open until 12:30. And then at nighttime, most of them are closed at 5:30, and we have one open, an alternate one open every other night till 7 o'clock. It's not enough. It really isn't enough. And what's even more difficult about it is when you look into a branch at 10 o'clock in the morning and you see all those computers and all those services there that are not being used. It is not a great thing to have closed doors when you've got the potential to do that. This is a pure economic issue, right? It's about more staff hours. And by increasing the hours in any one branch or across the system, we need additional funding in order to do that. This isn't a decision made by the library to just have limited hours. It really is about that. So over that period of time when revenue was being cut in significant ways every year, the way we balanced that was to reduce the number of hours. And that's how we keep that in check. But certainly the citizens of the city want more. And we talk about that. The board talks about that. We talk about ways to raise the money independently. We've talked about we're talking with a funder now who potentially wants to have one of the branches that's not open on Saturdays open on Saturdays all the time. And they would fund that for a period of time, 3 years or 4 years or that sort of thing. It would be a great thing to do, except that we want to be really careful about the inequity of which part of the city gets the more hours on a Saturday and this one doesn't, and it's a tough call. But to the extent that as the economy gets better for all of us, that the primary thing we would like to do would be to increase hours.
Very good, thank you. And second question, did you mention, and did I miss, the wonderful center on the second floor for adolescents or young people to make audios and videos and learn about production? And did you mention, and if not, should it be mentioned as an exemplary effort?
We didn't talk beforehand about this, but you're right, I had not mentioned that in here, and I was going to mention that partly with what we're going to do moving forward. But I think you all know that back in October of last year, we were able to, thanks to the city, the foundation, Hartford Foundation, and the library, to create enough funding to open the U-Media Lab. The U-Media Lab on the second floor is designed to hold about 100 teens all at once, even though that can be, just thinking about that makes me a little nervous. But, they're doing it. We're up to about 50 now on a daily count, started with 20 in October. And the really big benefit, way beyond our initial expectations, is that Tricia George and the staff there are doing professional development courses now for teachers in the school district and in the principals. And we're doing that now for free, right? And so we're helping teachers and principals understand audio laboratories and sound recordings and digital textiles and so forth. And those connections with the school are becoming more important. This year, there were 5 capstone projects are being completed through U-Media. And for a public library to be able to have that connection and synergy with the public school is really important. And I remember, Councilman Kennedy, you saying many years ago that you wanted more leverage between the schools and the libraries, and how can we do this together? And I think that not only is it possible, it's real, and it can happen. It doesn't require lots of additional money. It requires the willingness to do it and to really put your heads together and make it work. U-Media, I think, will lead us to a process even for adults around this whole maker and creation space We're learning more about that now at the library. We're learning about this digital textile thing, which is fascinating, with these monster Singer sewing machines that practically speak to you, and laser cutters. And as our staff goes out to the schools to do programs in the schools, they recognize the difference between our schools and the CREC schools. You know, they go into a CREC school and a lot of that technology is there. The kids are more adjusted to it already. And the kids that are in our district are often not even exposed to this kind of technology. And yet this is the technology that will guide their future. This is really where the jobs are, where education will lie. And so that lab in particular will, I believe, be one of the best things that we've done as a library to help support youngsters staying in school, getting connected through passion to a job that they might like to do, and then graduating and going on further.
Great.
So thank you for bringing that up.
Well, thank you for bringing it up, for having it, I should say. My last question, another exemplary item, seems to me, is the utilization at Goodwin of solar panels and so on, and I suppose that impacts revenue to some extent. And I wonder, not only for the other library branches, but for the school system. I heard one of our council members amazed that that was not already built into the plans of some of the schools. I guess we were. And so how can that example be followed? What's at Goodwin, and even would it produce any revenue or reduce expense?
It certainly reduces expense. There's no doubt about that. And when you're in Goodwin next time, they actually have a little computer that's tied into the utilization of the solar power, and it lets you know, much like the cars do that are, run on solar power and other things. The use of that technology for energy, the use of fuel cells for energy going forward, really I think are important parts of building projects that we get into in the years ahead. I think that there was a move originally, I think when we were fixing the roof at Goodwin, to take them down and not to put them back up. Because it costs money to do that stuff, to put them back in, take them down, put them back in. But the impact is where the investment is, right? So it was short dollars to put them back on the roof in order to get the kind of dollars that are not only good for the library and the city, but good for the citizens to see that this is a way to reduce your energy footprint or your energy bill. So we're going to keep trying on that for sure.
Excuse me.
Councilman Anderson and then Councilwoman Jennings. Oh, if you're willing to defer, Councilwoman Jennings, followed by Councilman Anderson.
Oh, thank you so much. Through you, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say that, Mr. Poland, we are very pleased and impressed by the way your staff makes us all feel welcome and makes people from the community feel welcome when we go. I know Nelson makes us feel like this is home. He makes sure anything you want, he will go and get it. He'll lift things and carry things in for you. I mean, but not only the way the staff makes not just us feel, but every resident of this community. We're also impressed with the innovative programs that you have that respond to the needs of the residents, including the employment programs, the educational programs, and we're also very impressed with the national recognition that our library has received over the years. So for that, we thank you and your staff for all they've done for our city. My question has to do with the Hartford Municipal ID cards. And I know that the ID cards are also going to include a service as being a library card to many. I just want to know whether or not you have any concerns or issues relative to the impact on the total visits to the Hartford Public Library and the impact that these cards will have on the library.
That's a great question. We actually think that the municipal ID card is a great idea. And I think the challenge is really going to be in how you market it as a library card, because there may be a fee right, for your ID card. And there's no fee associated with, the work at the library. So it's going to have to be something that will say, you get this library, you get your municipal ID, and the library card comes along with it. I think we can overcome that issue for sure. But we like the idea, particularly working with the immigrant population, where getting IDs is difficult, maintaining IDs is difficult. The use of a single card to access municipal services and library services makes a great deal of sense to us. So we're in on that.
Thank you.
Councilman Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, through you. Mr. Poland, during your presentation, good evening.
Good evening.
During your presentation, you mentioned something about homeschool numbers, and I was just curious, it kind of stuck out of my mind. Are you tracking the numbers of people that are being involved with homeschooling at the library? Yeah. And is it a part of your total children attendance numbers, and how young are they coming in to be homeschooled? Mary
Billings, who is responsible there, may have an exact number. We don't specifically track homeschoolers because we don't, in the library, we don't do a lot of, there's nothing done that's invasive, right? So if an individual doesn't tell us that they're there homeschooling, we don't know. But there are people who homeschool who we do know, who ask, and I don't know, what would you say, Mary, is the population? Yeah.
That's what, yeah. That's what I was kind of heading to. Maybe those numbers starting to probably creep up on you guys with the addition and the more popularity of homeschooling. Yep. And it seems like the library is being used as a resource. You talked about the curriculum that they have, so I'm thinking that they're using the library as a major resource for that curriculum. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question, because we know that it's happening, but we don't have a good handle on just how big it is yet. But it's a good point for us to keep in mind, and we'll stay on top of that. We'll do some work when we get back tomorrow and see if we can get a handle on just how many.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilman McDonald.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just have one more question.
Sure.
There's a statement in the mayor's budget message that I wanted you to answer. It's on page 2-2 of the budget book. I'll read it to you. It says, flat funding for the library while absorbing their health benefit increases to achieve their balanced budget. How is the city absorbing your increased health benefit costs?
A couple of things on that topic was it has to do more with truing up, Councilman McDonald, that we got this unbelievable increase. You know, it was going from 700,000 to 1.2, almost 1.3 million dollars. You know, we only have 70 people. We thought that number was extraordinarily high, and even though healthcare costs are rising at alarming numbers and continue to, that it was really more than, in fact, our little group could manage. The other piece of that is, unlike the school district with a much bigger piece of this pie, we have no control as a library over the carrier, the programs, nothing. We couldn't even figure that out, right? There's nothing we can do. We're just part of the bigger element. So in the work that Mary did with the benefits staff and with the budget staff, that determined what was a better number for us, basically, and that's the number that's in the budget. We had a gap that was really about $1.2 million to fill, and so we got approximately 539,000 in the true up that brought our gap to fill down to about 750,000. The rest of that gap was filled by the library.
So is this not part of the city's contribution to the public library? How is it being paid for, I guess is my question.
Yeah, you know, and so there's just a little bit of history here. Back, I think it's now 9 years ago, the library's healthcare costs were managed by the city in the same pool as the city employees. And in 2006, the burden for the library's healthcare was shifted to the library, right? So in the very first year of that shift, the increase to our contribution was equal to the shift of the healthcare. That never happened again. Never happened again, right? So as the healthcare costs continue to go up and up and up and up, the city's contribution was flat. And the library has been absorbing the increase in healthcare every year without any additional contributions from the city. The same is true of all of our union contract obligations. So since it's been flat, all of our contractual increases to our staff have all been absorbed by the library. When I say absorbed by the library, some of that has resulted in reduction of hours and not filling jobs over time and those kinds of things. So when that judgment was made about health care, there was never a plan to keep us whole with the increases. And so this year, with this enormous increase from 750 to 1.3 million, there's no way that we could manage that kind of a cost. And so this analysis was done that brought us to where we are today. We're still paying almost $800,000 from our contribution for health care. So we're paying that right back to the city.
If I may, that was part of 2006, if memory serves, what happened was we did the same thing with the Board of Education.
Yeah.
So our contribution went from being roughly minimum requirement of 212, 213 to the 284, because that encompassed the benefit aspect of that. We did the same thing in the library. Most organizations from that point, both organizations for the most part 6 years ago, have remained flat.
Yep.
As we basically put it on them to increase. Unlike the library didn't get the doesn't have the minimum funding requirement that the Board of Education does. So we've not been able to take those dollars back, even if we wanted to self-manage those healthcare costs.
And the difference between the two of us is the school district has a risk manager who manages these costs, these rising costs, and we can't, we don't have that. So it's a bit of a challenge for us.
I don't believe there's any other questions from the council. I want to thank you all. I can't thank you enough. You all have been incredibly flexible. Your staff is here. And we are, particularly myself as chair, very grateful for you to be here on such short notice, even as we changed the schedule twice on you today. And you were able to be here, and your presentation was excellent. We're very pleased with what you've done with level funding, just speaking generally, and the grant funding and the increase in funding from your, that you've done yourself to make up for the shortfalls that the city budget has not provided, is, I think, a model for what other organizations can do. Very, very, very appreciative of what the library does for the city. It's a great resource for the community. We are all aware of that, and we thank you for your work.
Thank you, Councilman Kennedy. Thank you.
All right, we are adjourned till tomorrow, 5:30.
That's okay.
Phelps letting in the reduced hours.
I love it. Larry asks that over here. Reduce the hours. I really do think they
Oh, yeah.
they keep slashing the city hall while we're still.
So I have another good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.